So I picked up this boat motor bottom end from the Junkyard, and you just saw me drilling this out so it would go on here. This is to something else. I have no idea what. I don't remember. I'd have to look at it. And I just decided I'm going to make it for this. So now I need to make this area down here fit properly. It's supposed to go over this to keep weeds from wrapping around it, but for what I'm doing, I don't really care. I'll have to trim the nose a little bit by the looks to get the nut on. We'll see. Maybe not. But it is it's an old Johnson, according to the sticker on it. I've been in here and I've removed the water pump. I'm going to make it run off of either a Predator 212 or a pressure washer motor. I'm not sure. I kind of want to experiment with it. I have this really beat up Predator 212 system here, and I've already built one of these, and they hit about 6-7 miles an hour tops, and that's it. If you use the factory prop, here, let me see, where is it? Here's a factory prop from an old Scott Atwater outboard motor. If you use one of these, the pitch is so aggressive and the blade is so big that it bogs your motor like crazy, and your motor will overheat. It'll still, ironically, it still pushes me at 6 miles an hour in my Coleman Crawdad, but it works the motor too hard doing it. So the pitch is the angle of the blade, and the pitch on this blade isn't as steep, and it's also a little bit smaller. It's more in the power band of what I'm running. But I'm curious if I use a torque converter. When I start out, I'll be deeper in the water, and as it gets up on plane, as the boat comes up out of the water due to speed, it'll require less power. And I'm curious if the torque converter can compensate for that using a higher pitch and a lower gear. Can we get up on plane? Because it can get up on plane, it starts to, but I run out of RPMs in the motor. So I'm wondering if I use a steeper pitch, once it's up on plane using a steeper pitch and a lower gear ratio, if the torque converter starts gearing up, if it'll have the power to keep it up on plane and actually accelerate further with gearing, because I have the torque for it for 6 miles an hour, and if I over rev the motor I can push it faster, but I don't want to blow the connecting rod through the side of the motor. So I'm just really curious if I can get any more speed out of it with a proper pitch that matches the gear ratio and having a changing gear ratio. It's all experimental. I've done this with a Lovejoy coupling from a wood splitter up here and just a boat motor, a pressure washer motor on top of the boat bottom end. And like I said, about 6 miles an hour, but I'm really curious if I can, and it was a 6 horsepower pressure washer motor. If I use a Predator 212, I think those are 6.5, 7 horsepower, something like that. And it would give us even more torque. So, anyways, I'm going to continue working on this. I need to trim the lip on this. Let's see here. Get it to focus. I need to trim this lip off because it's hitting on the weed guard over there. I'm wondering if I can actually change the size of it and get it to slip inside that one, because it would be nice if this was intact. It's actually important. But, you know, for a junkyard build, we'll see what we can do. Alright, so I've got this drilled through, and I've just put a bolt through it. This is not going to be accurate in the slightest. This is going to have wobble to it, and it's not going to be rigid, so I'm going to get a terrible quality cut. But I don't care. I just need to fit this on the boat motor, and the only one looking at it is me, and, well, possibly you if you even like this video. But I just don't care. I want it to function. I'm not looking for beautiful. I'm looking for pushing me down the lake. and I just need to take that off because it's hitting the weed guard on the other part. If this was the right prop, the weed guard would have been further out, and it would have had essentially a piece slid inside of another piece like this, and then the weeds would have to go in, do a 90 and another 90 to get in, and they just can't get in there to wreck your seal or your bearing. I'm gonna have to delete it and just run it that way. I mean, it's a junkyard boat motor that I paid like $7 for, so I don't really care. We're just gonna knock that off. Well, it definitely ain't perfect. About an 1/8 inch, I'd say, which in thousandths is a lot. If you were doing this in machinist class, I'm sure you'd fail. Oh, let's see if I can get it a little bit straighter. So, she got some wobble. So she's got a little wobble, but she's not terrible. For what I'm doing, calling it. Now let's see how terrible of a cut quality I get with the bendy flexi screw, or bolt holding it together. Let's see here. Gotta love dealing with dull blades. I'm always trying to cut something I shouldn't and dulling the blades, and unless the blades just absolutely refuse to work for me, I usually just run them until I can't. But I'd like to take some heavier cuts here, so I'm gonna try and get the blade changed, although there's a piece of plastic stuck in it right now. And there we go, out of the way. I'd like to know how a piece of plastic got melted into that anyways. Now the question is, when I go to crank this off, how hot is this going to be on my fingers? Let's see here. There. Blade changed. Now we might be able to get a better cut. Now, being a relative term, considering my attachment. What I wouldn't give for a set of safety glasses right about now. Now here's a really big no-no. Yeah, don't be doing that. Focus! So I've taken the lip off and gone a little bit past and got the little centerpiece that holds the pin, but I don't really care. goes all the way down. Now let's put the pin in, see if it actually sits right. I'll just straighten this up to do that though. Well, apparently I'm gonna have to take that down some more. Interesting. It's the prop is still hitting the prop is still hitting this, so I'm gonna have to chew that lip down a bit more, I guess. It's nice if you use the right stuff. I mean, I could go and pay a bunch of money for a prop that fit this, but the pitch would be funky compared to what I need. And the prop probably cost me $40–50, and that would kind of defeat the purpose of building a junkyard motor. Oops, I got this backwards. Gotta love cheap tripods, right? Goodwill special. Come on, stay. Yeah, good enough. My poor drill bit. I guess apparently in my haste I smacked it. So I have recessed it more, and now that actually might chop weeds and keep them from really winding around it if it's a nice tight fit inside of the lip in there, but we'll see. I think I see a problem already. Yep. Okay, so my SD card decided to have an issue and corrupt a file, and the camera kind of recovered, but the last video got shorted a little. So I had to knock the center out when I realized there was a problem here. I'm like, uh-oh, I think I see a problem already, and what I realized was this center piece right here that the bearing is in is just as tall as this outer lip. So I realized that I would have to cut the center part back as far as I cut this. I don't know how well it shows, but I left a little a little ear or a chunk, whatever you want to call it, in order to have something that's now in this groove right here. And I'm hoping it'll cut the weeds if they ever try to tangle around it. Because if you go through like lily pads or something, they try and wind around it, and I'm hoping that that'll wind up cutting it. But now I can put this on. Let's see here. I have to look like Ian and see where the pin is. The pin is over. And of course, as I'm turning the boat prop, that's spinning. Let's get you on the tripod so I can do this. So, what I'm attempting to do is to line the pin here up with the slot there. There we go, all lined up. Now, I've got this bushing that I got from scrap from a buddy of mine that works at Mobility Works. It's a wheelchair place that, well, not a wheelchair place, it's a place that modifies vehicles so they can be handicap accessible, I guess is the proper term. I don't know. I'm just a redneck, I don't know this stuff. Proper wording and all that. Oh, man. So, the nylon bushing pushes on here. I'm going to have to trim the nylon bushing down so that it doesn't mess with the way the water wants to run off the prop. Hydrodynamics, since we're not in air, it's hydrodynamics instead of aerodynamics. And get this off the tripod here. I'll show you how tight of a fit this whole thing is. So, if I tip it, you can see there is just the slightest air gap under there, and there's also those teeth there. You can see the tooth that's going into that little slot. So, I just need to make something that's a better fit, that's aerodynamic, to go on here. This is just what I got for now. So, the question is, what does everyone in the audience think I should do? Should I just make it the tried and true method and just put a Lovejoy coupling from a wood splitter that normally tethers a small engine to a wood splitter hydraulic pump on here and just send it just like I have before? Should I do an experiment and see what adding gearing does, and then try different props with different aggressive pitches and stuff like that, which would require me to either make a custom adapter so that I could fit this on a pressure washer engine, or use a Predator 212. And if I use the Predator 212, I have this busted, we're going to call it a 90-degree gearbox, so I can use the Predator 212. But, well, it's obviously an angle grinder. I'm thinking about stripping the motor and having the shaft here bare, and hooking the shaft that's normally part of the motor here would basically get attached to that, and then this would give us 90 degrees to hook to our Predator 212. I actually thought about making a two-stroke boat motor out of this, just for funsies, but I'm not sure. I mean, leave some comments, tell me what you think I should do. I mean, heck, if you think I should give up on the whole project, you know, tell me. I will edit in some videos of the other boat motor I've already done, and you can get a little bit of an idea of what it can do. Well, my kill switch stopped working, so thanks again, Rob, for the push button. It has a new kill switch now that's only a temporary button. I can't forget to turn it off or turn it back on or whatever. Yeah, I wasn't going in there.